What's going on YouTube? Clover here back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be going over the San Antonio Regionals results in its entirety. It just wrapped up a few hours ago, and it saw a very thrilling final, a mirror final actually, between the two Tangs, Justin Tang and Shiliang Tang, meeting within the grand final. And of course, because they built together, it was pretty much the same team. It was the Calyrex Ice Rider bringing it home here, and look at that partner over there. You've got Roaring Moon also within the final. Remember, we've spoken about Roaring Moon on other teams besides Kyogre, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in a second. But again, just shout outs to Labmouse overall, just being able to provide the results in a very timely fashion. So this way videos like this can come out in a very fast fashion. So shout outs to them. But again, Justin Tang coming out on top over Shiliang, claiming his third regional win. So shout outs and congrats to Justin. You already know that both Tangs are gonna discuss and do the team report thing on Justin's channel. So be on the lookout for that, and hopefully we can bring both of them in on the channel again for a showcase, as they have done in the past on this channel as well. So look forward to that. Hopefully we can find a common time for them to meet. But other than that, that was not the whole story, right? There were other interesting squads that came out of this regional, and other niche Pokemon that we got to see do the job that they do best. And that's going to be important moving forward as we look ahead in terms of the next regional within regulationG. So as always, we're going to look at usage rates for the restricteds and the non-restricteds, and then from there we'll take a look at some of the squads, and let's see what adjustments were made since Birmingham / Rio de Janeiro. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the usage data. All right, so let's look at the restricted legendary data first. So this is what we've got here for day one. You've got Miraidon, Ice Rider, and Zamazenta at number 1, 2, and 3. So Miraidon here at 17.33%, Calyrex Ice Rider at 16%, 16.8 technically, and this is almost in line with what we saw from Birmingham in day one. I believe Birmingham in day one also had Miraidon at 17%, and then the Calyrex also was almost right there with it at 17%. So this is already in line with what we saw there. The Zamazenta was just a hair under 17. I think it was like 16%. So a small dippage here. But the real big dippage was the Shadow Rider over here, the CSR. So basically that one was number one back at Birmingham with almost 18% usage. Right now we've dipped down below to about 11.6%. So that's almost like a 6% drop from basically a week or two ago, right? So very interesting there. And then after this, the last four here, that's still pretty consistent with Birmingham, although the Kyogre did get a little bit of a bump in usage here, right? 10.17%, so it cracks double digits, where I think it was just about 9% from Birmingham. And then Terapagos, Koraidon, and Groudon rounded out the last three slots over here. 8.5% here for Terapagos, and then Koraidon and Groudon 6 and 5% respectively. So actually technically both of these have had an uptick since Birmingham. So would that be the same case here in day two? So let's take a look here, and it is, right? But now look at this. What's more impressive here is the Ice Rider at an overwhelming 24% usage, almost 25. And that is also very much reflected in the results when we show you the Labmouse data. We'll take a look at that in a second. But, look at the top 8. There are 4 Ice Rider teams in the top 8, okay? And for good reason. So now, all of a sudden, the Ice Rider, which, wasn't really doing well in the beginning, now has its footing within the format. And that's usually going to be the case in regulationG. Remember last year when Shadow Rider struggled to find its footing, right? Where it wasn't really getting that much top cut results. And then all of a sudden, boom, it was top cutting and dominating every tournament after that, right? So now we're seeing more or less the same thing here with the Ice Rider at 24%. But look who's at second place here. This is regulationG development right here. Kyogre at just under 13% usage. I think this is the highest it's ever been within the regulationG format, and for good reason. And it's not just the Roaring Moon balance stuff that you saw from Oliver Escalin, right? There were some other Kyogre teams that did very well, and we're going to spotlight those in a second. But it's nice to see Kyogre do very well in this kind of format here. And then Zamazenta is still creeping up here at 3% here, 11.76 usage, but that is still a bit of a dip from where it once was in day one here. And then Terapagos over here overpowering the Shadow Rider. Look at this, the Shadow Rider down to 9.4%. So not even cracking double digits here. So all of a sudden, the Shadow Rider is the one that's struggling a little bit right now. And look at Miraidon, 8.24%. My goodness, I don't think I've ever seen Miraidon this low. Okay, and here we are. So for those who have said, Regulation G is, stale and dry and not really much development, oh, now you are sadly mistaken. Look where these guys are now, and look where Kyogre and stuff is. And how about this? Look at look at Koraidon and Groudon also getting a little bit more of a surge in usage here, right? 7% here for the Koraidon. And there were some pretty cool Koraidon teams. In fact, there were 2 of them in top cut results there, top 8 technically, right? So we're gonna look at the Koraidon teams too, and of course Groudon. And there was a lot of hype for Groudon going into this. So would it be the Jumpluff Sun stuff? Would it be the Chinese Sun Groudon team? Would it be something else? We can show you those results as well. But I think moving forward, you're going to see a lot more Ice Rider, and you're definitely going to see a little bit more Kyogre, because again, they have a lot of partners that you can pair with them. And that goes a long way when you're trying to get some flexibility in the type of team that you're trying to build. The fact that you have a lot of options for how you want to build each one, and the partners, they make all the difference in the restricted itself, right? So even though you might say, oh, it's just another Calyrex team, or it's just another Kyogre team, look at the partners, because the partners make all the difference in terms of how the squad is played, right? The Kyogre could be Assault Vest, it could be the Scarf Ogre, it could be the Leftovers Calm Mindset, it could just be straight Splash Plate / Mystic Water for a little bit more offense, right? So lots of different ways that you can play the Ogre for sure. And the results are very indicative of how it's been able to adapt in terms of its team building here, right? So then what about the non-restricted? Okay, so let's take a look at how that goes. But it's nice to see that the Weather War is still alive and strong, besides just all about Miraidon terrain stuff, or like Calyrex balance ideas, because now it just makes the format a little bit more interesting now that we know that certain restricteds are starting to become a little bit more viable than the first time of Regulation G. All right, now in terms of the non-restricteds, look at Urshifu, Incineroar, and Rillaboom. Still, this much is the same, right? 46% uses for Ursh. Then you have, Incineroar and Rillaboom very neck and neck at 32 and 31% respectively. Then Fluttermane, Raging Bolt, and Amoonguss here round out your top 6. As expected, these are very, very good Pokemon. Of course, we know what Amoonguss can do. Very good into Zamazenta, able to redirect a lot of that. Sport Pressure, right? And a lot of the Calyrex Ice Rider teams are now starting to use Amoonguss as a good partner there, and for good reason. Sport Pressure with Glacial Lance just goes a long way in terms of immobilizing and dealing damage. And then of course you still get the redirection support, that Amoonguss is really good for. And then the Rocky Helmet sets are really good for the Urshifu Rapid Strike. You get to redirect all of those surging strikes, and then the Rocky Helmet just deals more damage right back into it. Raging Bolt's also very good for the Urshifu matchup. Thunderclap is very good. It's super bulky. It deals a lot of damage, which is Thunderbolts and Draco Meteors. And then, of course, you do have the occasional Electro Webs for speed control, and the Volt Switches, for pivoting in and out if you are using something like a Koraidon and just trying to reset weather. The Fluttermane, again, like we've been mentioning, is more of a supportive set this time around. In Regulation G, just going for those Icy Winds and those occasional Thunder Waves, sometimes Taunt. But Moonblast is still pretty good into a lot of these things, right? Just Urshifu's, Iron Hands over here, and even Chenpao's technically. So Fluttermane's still pretty good at what it does. And then Ferrograph, again, also getting very good uses this time around. If the top 3 Pokemon, or technically if 4 of the top 5 options have priority moves, then you want something to take that away. And Ferrograph can do that for you. And then just setting up Trick Room for a lot of the format, which is pretty fast, is going to be important, right? Then Chenpao, again here, just really good at blowing up terrain, putting pressure against those Miraidon teams. Then the Ogerpon Heartflame, still the most used Ogerpon right now, just does so much damage, especially against Rillaboom and Amoonguss. And then you always have the Grass move for the Urshifu as well. You have Electric Resist, right? Which is, without Terra, obviously you get to redirect Raging Bolt stuff, and even technically Iron Hands / Miraidon ideas, so you can do that too with this. So you can also use it as a redirector. The Whimsicott, of course, just gives you that Tailwind stuff with the Encore Locks and then of course the occasional Moonblast, just like Flutter Mane as well. And then Chi right here, again, very good partners with Flutter Mane, able to put out a lot of damage. It's a dark type, it puts pressure on the Shadow Rider, especially with Snarl, damage mitigation against some of the other special attackers running around. But of course, Iron Hands, again, very good fighting type. Also excels in Trick Room, doesn't even necessarily need to be on Trick Room. Again, fake out pressure with Drain Punch. Again, a good solid fighting type that is very good into Terapagos. And then at the same time, big electric damage that can do well into stuff like Urshifu. And then just being able to, click the occasional heavy slams or low kicks into a lot of the format is also what makes Iron Hands a very, very good mon right now. So now what does day 2 look like, right? So now look at the results for day 2. Amoonguss at number 2, 40% usage. Urshifu now at 53% usage, my goodness. Okay, but Amoonguss getting up there to 42, right? It was at 26, now you're at 40% over here, my goodness. Like that's a big conversion rate there. And for good reason, right? Because again, Amoonguss is really good at what it's supposed to do in VGC. Same with Incineroar. Now, you may see that Incineroar drops here to number 4, but not really, right? Because again, 32% usage here. In fact, this is actually a small increase here at 0.94% there. So Incin is still looking really good. Rillaboom was the interesting one in terms of dropping there, right? 31 to 24% usage there. But the other increase in usage here I want to note is the Cornerstone Ogerpon and also the Landorus right here. So Landorus and Cornerstone, why? Because these are two very good Pokemon and very good partners for the Calyrex Ice Rider teams. And, there was a lot of Calyrex Ice Rider teams. You saw the conversion rate into day 2, so no question about it. This is why these two are also looking really good. Same thing with the Amoonguss. Amoonguss and Landorus and even this Ogerpon are very good partners, on that Ice Rider team, and sometimes to an extent the Raging Bolt too, which is why also right here 37% usage there. So it makes a lot of sense. If the restricted is getting a lot of usage, so are the partners too. But yeah, so now in terms of where we're gonna move forward here, we'll look at the teams and then we'll make some predictions at what to expect, as the format does progress, because there is a lot of interesting data here and a lot of niche options that were used. And now people are going to be trying this stuff and using them on ladders, so just be aware of that. And we'll see what happens now in terms of the meta trends, just based on the results from this tour. So let's take a look at the teams and let's see what did well and why they did well. All right, so now we're here into the LabMouse website here, and we're going to look at the top 8 results here. But before we even look and start with Justin and Shiliang's team, I actually want to just, prelude the Ice Rider team. So, be heading into San Antonio, I did like this trio right here, the Calyrex Ice Rider, the Amoonguss, and the Landorus. I felt that these three had to be on the same team moving forward, okay? Regardless of what the other 3 partners were, I always liked these 3 and how they functioned right now within the competitive format for regulationG. I did like some other stuff that the Ice Rider teams were using, but ultimately, I just felt that this trio was ultimately the best trio right now as far as like the partners for the Ice Rider. And then I want to also look at Rio de Janeiro regionals for a second before we even look at Justin's team. So look at this, right? The first place team in Juan Salerno. By the way, 3 Ice Rider teams in the top 8. We covered this tournament before, but look at this: Ice Rider, Landorus, Amoonguss, and then these 3 other slots: Ursh, Incineroar, and the Urshifu single strike, right? So you got a couple things going on here, but once again, you still have that trio here. And now, if we look more into San Antonio, okay, now we get to look at Justin's team over here, right? Along with Shiliang's. So now we still have that idea here with Landorus and Amoonguss, but we still have the Ogerpon idea, right? So now we have the Ogerpon and the Amoonguss, okay? And then instead of Incineroar, we're going to go with Roaring Moon as our dark type technically here. And then now we get speed control on this, okay, with Tailwind. So now we have dual modes here with Trick Room and Tailwind. Okay, and you still have the Urshifu Rapid Strike over here. So you still have this Fire, Water, Grass core going on here, with Urshifu, Ogerpon, Heart Flame, right? Because, those 2 already covered the 3 types here. The Amoonguss, again, just helps you set up said Trick Room, can spore a lot of different things, redirect, and keep your sweeper safe. And then the Landorus, of course, looks pretty good, for that Zamazenta / Miraidon matchup, of course, right? And then I wouldn't be surprised if this Ice Rider had some speed investment here over here, right? To also function, with Tailwind. So I wouldn't be surprised there. We'll have to see what they release out with the team report there, but it is my hunch that the Ice Rider does have some speed investment. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. Okay, but Roaring Moon, again, we talked about Roaring Moon before, right, in another separate video, and, you know, some other videos too. The dragon typing is really good. Again, you get to do well against the fire, water, grass stuff, right? So other Urshifus, Amoonguses, Rillabooms, all the Ogerpons, right? They all have that shared flying weakness. So you add Roaring Moon here and you look pretty good against those options. Then you add the fact that you are a dark type, so that's also pretty good into that Shadow Rider matchup. And then at the same time, you add speed control here with Tailwind, and now this Urshifu and this Landorus, you know, they have hard-hitting items. They have a Life Orb over here and the Mystic Water over here, so no Scarf. So now you have already damage modifiers. Now you just need the speed on your side, and this is where the Tailwind looks really good here, right? So I like that, and then they can do their job. And then I love the taunt on the Urshifu, okay? So these fast taunts means like stuff like Amoongus, they can't set up, stuff like Indeedee or other Ferrographs for that matter, and it's not Prankster taunt, so you don't have to worry about a potential switch in to deny priority in that sense, right? Prankster taunt sometimes will fail, you know, just if you want to swap in that Indeedee and then that Ferrograph idea, right? Not sometimes, it will. So having a non-Prankster taunt here that's still like pretty fast can also do the job over here. So I do like that from the Urshifu. You also stop Protect, right? So if the Ice Rider needs to pick up a KO and you don't want them to click Protect, then this is where like Taunt Urshifu looks really good. You get to stop Redirection and Follow Me also. And other setups like Swords Dance, Nasty Plot, Calm Mind stuff, you get to stop all of that when you have the Taunt on the Urshifu. So really good ideas here. And again, double Redirector, right? You have Amoongus with Rage Powder and the Ogerpon with Follow Me. So all in all, you've got double Redirection, you have double speed control here, okay? You've got your Breaker and Urshifu / Calyrex Ice Rider as your sweepers, and then you still have a support yet offensive option in the Roaring Moon. So I do like this a lot. So smart building there from the Tangs, okay? They got to the finals, right? So really, really nice job there. And, you know, they'll cover their squad on Justin's channel, I'm sure within the next day or so, you know? That way over here. So look, this was also a pretty cool team, okay? By the way, you know, my favorite part about this team is Substitute Calyrex, right? We have been on this bandwagon for a while, right? We love Substitute Calyrex Shadow Rider, okay? And if that looks familiar, it's because that is also on our rental. So remember when we released 8 rentals for the month of January, and our Calyrex team here, which I still have to feature on our channel. I think it's pretty cool. But anyway, our Calyrex also had Substitute, right? So this was our rental that we released, and we liked it. When I was testing it and when I was using it on ladder, it was great, okay? So this is why I liked it, and I put it on there for that reason. So now, Dawei feels the same way. And the whole idea with Substitute is this can help you stall out potential Trick Room turns if they do want to set it up, because you can always just do Substitute and Protect, and then all of a sudden now two turns of Trick Room have gone. This is also pretty good against priority, right? So against stuff like, you know, Thunderclap, Aqua Jet, Sucker Punch from something like a Chien-Pao, you could just substitute, and now you don't really, you have something, you know, to help you against that, right? So I do like that. So, and then this can also help against sometimes Tailwind teams too, because the turn they go for Tailwind, you can go for Substitute, and even if they have the speed control, they have to break the Substitute first in order to get to the Calyrex Shadow Rider. So I do like this. And then how about Ting Lu over here with the same, on the same team as a Calyrex Shadow Rider? You usually don't see that, but look at this Ting Lu set over here, Sand Tomb and Stealth Rock over here. So now we're getting, you know, some chip damage over here with the Stealth Rocks and the Sand Tombs, and you've got the Dondozo. So we've seen combinations like this before, when you just have, you know, Stealth Rock / Sand Tombs and then just clicking Yawn, right? Because when you click Yawn, okay, if you don't want to go to sleep, you have to switch out, okay? And when you do that, okay, you're gonna take Stealth Rock damage, right? And then at the same time, you combo this with Sand Tomb, and now you're just gonna be taking chip damage, and you're gonna go to fall asleep, right? So this is also a very, very cool idea. Dondozo, Solo Dozo with the Ting Lu, very, very cool, you know, combination with these two. Something that we've seen before in previous formats, but now we get to see it in current time here in Regulation G. And then we still have the Heart Flame over here. So again, Heart Flame still doing dividends here. Single Strike Urshifu, very good into the Shadow Rider matchup, the mirror technically. And then Terra Normal Whimsicott, of course, same thing for that Shadow Rider matchup. And then you've got Tailwind and Encore and Helping Hand here. So a Helping Hand, Astro Barrage, Helping Hand, Wicked Blow is going to do a lot. Helping Hand, Ivy Cudgel here. So you've got your breakers on your side. You've got some annoying support options here that, you know, you just chip things down. Then the Shadow Rider comes in, and when things have taken too much damage, you just clean up with something like Astro Barrage or even something like Wicked Blow here. So this is pretty cool from Dawei. So shout outs to them for third place. Then you've got Andrew over here with Koraidon. There were 2 Koraidon teams within the top 8. Okay, and some familiar partners, right? With Raging Bolt and Fluttermane over here. Volt Switch, again, can help you reset your weather. But look at this. It's not Clear Amulet. It is a loaded dice set over here with Skill Shot Koraidon. Holy smokes, we're doing this now? So here we go. Some meta development for you. Does make you a little bit more prone to Intimidate, but the Scale Shot, holy smokes. Okay, so here we go. Scale Shot Koraidon. And then you've got Collision Course and Flare Blitz, of course, right? Then you've got Choice Band Entei, which we've seen before on these Koraidon teams. Usually you might even see Chien-Pao here, but they've opted to not go for the Chien-Pao. Instead go for other things. Cornerstone has been a consistent partner with Koraidon too. And then how about Umbreon over here? So we like Umbreon here too. Technically, Umbreon, you know, does have a niche within regulationG. We previewed this on our tier list, right? And the Umbreon looks good into both Calyrexes. Why? Because you've got Foul Play for both of them. Then you have Taunt and Yawn, okay? This is so annoying, right? You can taunt them, you know, things can't protect. Then you Yawn them, forcing a switch out. And this is also good into the Trick Room matchup. You know, if they go for Trick Room, you go for Yawn. And now they have one turn to make a decision. Do I switch or do I go to sleep? So Umbreon looking really good there. And because you're in the sun, you have Moonlight to give you a little bit more extra healing. So the Umbreon has longevity and can help you win some of those matchups that might be a little bit more unwinnable. So, you know, just Yawn and the Moonlight just to keep healing is really good here. But this Entei, this Choice Band Entei in the sun, Sacred Fire in the sun does a lot of damage. Same thing, you know, you could even be like this E-Speed bot with Terra Normal here. You don't have the Chien-Pao, but that's okay. But overall, pretty cool idea with the Umbreon here. Usually this is something like a Ditto slot. And speaking of Ditto, that leads us into Luca's team over here, which is essentially the same idea here. But the only difference is we've got a Ditto over the Umbreon. And again, the Ditto fills that role where I still need some matchup into the Ice Rider, right? Umbreon can do that, but so can the Ditto. So I can just swap it in and copy that, and thank you very much. But the way Luca was playing this Ditto was absolutely insane. This guy was leading it, okay? Which is kind of crazy, all things considered. But if you know how to play the Ditto, it just wins you so many games, right? But other than that, it is a very standard 5 pairing with Koraidon here. We know what the pieces are at this point. It's just all about solving that Ice Rider matchup. And Groudon has a similar problem too, right? Tanner, one of our old OG VGC friends here, you know, back when the channel didn't even have 1,000 subs, when we were just in the few hundreds, Tanner was one of our guests on our channel, right? And it's nice to see him grow and progress. And to see him get in top 8 is actually pretty cool. Maybe we ought to get Tanner back on this channel for a bit of a showcase here, because it's been a while since we've got Tanner on here. So hopefully we can bring him back here. But look at this. Again, Calyrex Amoonguss here. You know, as expected, he doesn't have the Landis, but he has a Chien-Pao here. You usually don't really see a Chien-Pao partnered with the Ice Rider here, but we do see it here. And he does have the Urshifu Rapid Strike here. So again, this is the coaching idea. So you can coach the Calyrex, you can coach the Chien-Pao too. And you can also technically coach some of these other options, you know, just to give them a defense boost. So this way they don't take as much physical damage. So you can also technically do that. Also, the Terra Grass helps you get around the Amoonguss, especially the Rocky Helmet stuff. But overall, this is another cool take on the Ice Rider. So shout outs to Tanner for a very strong result here. Then we go down here to William here, and again another Ice Rider team. So 4 of them in this, right? So the Smeargle idea, holy smokes. So we've got Decorate Smeargle. Okay, so now we're getting more damage buffs for the Calyrex besides the coaching stuff. So we've seen this before, right? So, you know, Smeargle Decorate with the Calyrex, and then at the same time you still get Spore and Fake Out Pressure. So this is almost like an Amoonguss, right? You've got your Follow Me and Spore. So Redirection and Spore move, and then you have Decorate there, right? So you have that. Then you have Indeedee female, with the Trick Room stuff. So you can always just, lead and click follow me, then click Trick Room, and then even bring in the Blood Moon Ursaluna over here, right? For, just raw damage, Hyper Voice spam, Glacial Lance spam, okay, Blood Moon nuke, okay, that's all like really, really strong damage here. And then the Ogre Pond Heart Flame, again, another partner here, again, but still following the conventions of, providing redirection support. Actually, you have 1, 2, 3 follow me users over here, so it's going to be pretty hard to get to the Calyrex Urshifu / Blood Moon if you don't have a spread move there. So all in all, I like it a lot. So cool idea here from William. So that's another variant that you could do with the Ice Rider there. And now the Groudon team over here. So this is the Jumpluff Sun stuff that we've seen throughout late December into right now January. The Jumpluff with Terra Dark, super annoying. You can't Prankster Taunt this thing, and then just speed control with Tailwind here. With the Precipice Blades, and then the Stomping Tantrum here versus High Horsepower is situational. But again, we've seen this team before, and it's nice to see Groudon within the top 8 here. Urshifu Single Strike, that's good for your Shadow Rider matchup. The Raging Bolt here, again, also pretty good in the Sun, just does a lot of damage. Can help you against Urshifu Rapid Strike, which, wants to click Surging Strikes into the Groudon there. But overall, just does pretty big damage with the special attack boost, from the Sun here. Speaking of doing big damage in the Sun, the Ogabon Heart Flame, Rillaboom also wants to come into Groudon sometimes just to pressure it with grass moves. But then you just bring in your Heart Flame and then you make the Rillaboom think twice, right? So I do like this also. And again, Ivy Cudgel in the Sun is going to do a lot of damage. So don't knock that. And then Instant just gives you more support, more balance. Again, Will-O-Wisp, Parting Shot, all this damage mitigation, knockoff, removing key items there, and then you can just cycle your fake outs too against some of these other physical attackers. But we know this Groudon, throughout late December into what we got right now. So all in all, 4 Ice Rider teams, 1 Shadow Rider team, 2 Koraidon, 1 Groudon. So very interesting there. And then if you look even a little bit further, there's another Ice Rider team there, and then there's a Kyogre team there from Pengy there. So we'll look at the other squads, of course, but just a very interesting top 8. Okay, there's some niche mons there, right, which is good. It just means there's still creativity and there's still more room to innovate within a format, even though we're already 4 months in. So yeah, let's take a look at some of the other art types. Let's see how they did, and let's also look at their team construction. All right, so if we take a look at Miraidon and how Miraidon did, there was only 1 Miraidon team within top 32, which is actually kind of insane. Nothing in top cut, and just you have to go down to 27th place to get the highest Miraidon team there, which is kind of insane. There were day 2 Miraidon teams, but just 27th. Okay, that's kind of crazy. And you might think, well, why? Well, it kind of goes back to what we have over here. With so much more Landorus. Okay, Landorus does great at pinning Miraidon technically, and so does the Calyrex too. So like, you're weak to ice, you're weak to ground. So, and these two are, pretty much on the rise. And, technically the Amoonguss can also help into Miraidon a little bit just in terms of redirecting a lot of those stuff. But, for sure, it's all about these two. So because those two on the rise, then that just means that Miraidon will kind of drop a little bit in usage here. And it did. So, but nonetheless, let's see what some of these Miraidon teams were thinking of. So right here from Chase, we've got Specs Miraidon over here with Discharge. Okay, so that means we definitely have a ground type over here, and we do. We have the Ursaluna over here, and we have the Iron Crown with Terra Ground here. So pretty cool in itself. You still got Whimsicott, you still got Urshifu Rapid Strike over here, so that much hasn't changed. You do have Protect on the Whimsicott here. It is a Sash Whimsy. Okay, Mystic Water Ursh, but Discharge with Iron Crown, very interesting. But again, Iron Crown does have a niche within this meta. Again, Tachyon Cutter can break Sash, looks really good into Chenpao, which is also something that does well into Miraidon. Then you've got this, you've got Psyshock, okay? Psyshock Iron Crown here, along with Terra Blast, Terra Ground. So that's also pretty interesting there. But, Discharge with Ursaluna as well. So now, you technically don't even have Trick Room here, but you can bring in the Ursaluna in those Trick Room matchups. And then you have Substitute Ursh over here with Terra Normal, might I add. So that's also very interesting. But again, it also makes sense, just to deal a little bit more damage with Facade. And then, just remove your water weakness and your grass weakness altogether. So Ursaluna, again, just I would say I would think it's mainly for that Trick Room matchup here, but this is one way of looking at it with Quark Drive Iron Crown here. You can get a speed boost here, and then because you have Life Orb, you're going to do a lot of damage with your Tachyon Cutter and your other stab here with Psyshock. And if they want to change terrain with, Indeedee, then your Psyshock is just going to do a little bit more damage too. AV Ensign with Terra Dragon, also very interesting there. But again, the Dragon versus Grass debate versus Water is also quite interesting there. But I respect it. Then because it's AV, right? Then you have to go for U-turn rather than Parting Shot here. So this is still like a little bit more bulk. This is good into like another Miraidon team technically. And then the Urshifu again with Terra Grass, like we mentioned earlier, just helps you get around Amogus. So all in all, very interesting take on Miraidon. I respect it. I do like a ground type with it. I think we've seen something like that before with like the Blood Moon stuff. So now we're just trying the other one, I guess. How about this one from Zach here? So Zach is using Iron Leaves instead, right? Psyblade, Leaf Blade, Mega Horn. So this one we've seen before. This one is a little bit more common. But again, Iron Hands here with Swords Dance, okay, with the Electric Seed. We've seen this. Again, you've got the Fake Out to try and set it up here. And then this will help you outpace the other Incineroars that want to come in and intimidate this. And then just, hard-hitting Drain Punches. And then the Whimsicott here going for Encore, Light Screen stuff, partnered with Incineroar Intimidate, so you have some decent damage mitigation on this squad as well. So I like that too. And then this one from Aaron Trailer, your classic Miraidon team here with the Sash Urshifu, the Hearth Flame Ogerpon here, the Electric Seed Ferrograph. Nothing new out of this Miraidon team. Okay, but then as we go down over here to Abby's team over here, right? The Bastiodon here, and I do have a picture I want to show you guys here, right? This is the Bastiodon crew, from San Antonio. I think this is kind of cool, right? And hopefully we can get Bastiodon on the channel here. I think I was promised that Arventa would be released. So, stay tuned for that. We would love to showcase Bastiodon on the channel on some rank games and just talk about the squad in general. We did preview Bastiodon a few videos ago because it had 2 top 4 placements at a local here. All right, so now we get to see that over here, and this is pretty much it. The Miraidon Grimmsnarl stuff with Ogerpon Heartflame, Iron Hands, and Chenpao. But this one is Covert Cloak Bastiodon, not the leftover set, so no Protect here. We're going with Wide Guard, Foul Play, Iron Defense, Body Press here. So that is a set here. So you can't fake this thing out, which is kind of cool. I guess you can guarantee your Iron Defense, Body Press stuff. So IDVP Pokemon are always going to have some niche, right? But, it's just interesting to have Bastiodon over here. And, Foul Play is actually pretty good into both Calyrexes. So you do have to consider that. And again, you have Sturdy. Okay, we can't stress that enough. Sturdy is a very, very good ability in Regulation G. Look at Ogerpon Cornerstone, of course. And then this is just Total Screens Grimmsnarl over here. So shout outs to the Bastiodon crew for getting cool results with that niche Pokemon there. But other than that, not too much coming out of this. But, oh, look, another Tang, Jason Tang. Yo, where was Jason Tang? We could have had a trifecta with Justin Tang and Shiliang Tang. We'll call him the forgotten Tang. Oh man, we're not going that far. All right, we're just teasing, of course. All right, but hey, let's see what some of these Miraidon teams are gonna have to do moving forward. Again, they're gonna have to answer the Landorus now, and you're gonna have to do a little bit more with the Calyrex. Okay, the Heartflame Ogerpon is just not enough. It is good, but you're gonna need more. Technically, Urshifu Surging Strikes can take care of this Landorus, right? But perhaps there is more innovation, moving forward with Miraidon here. But I think the pieces that they have can deal with these guys, but perhaps there is a little bit more in terms of a niche Pokemon that can help them out. All right, so Kyogre also had some strong showings in this regional here, and 11-2 from Pengy over here. So actually, this is a familiar squad from Pengy. He's actually been using something like this amongst the online tournaments. The only change here that he has over on this regional team versus his online tours is the Serena. So I think it was like the Ferrograph in that slot. So, you're still getting anti-priority in that slot here, but I guess he wanted a little bit more pressure into the Raging Bolts and the Rillabooms, for the Kyogre stuff. So I guess, Triple Axel can do that here. But it's interesting to see Serena and Rillaboom. I have not seen that at all. I've always seen something like, Amoonguss Rillaboom. But here we have Serena and Rillaboom on the same team, so that's also interesting there. But again, you get Helping Hand, you get Taunt here, so you know, I guess he found a little bit more of a niche for the Serena versus the Ferrogaff here, but everything else is pretty much the same here. The Life Orb, Urshifu here, the Chien-Pao, Tornadus, Terra Ground, Rillaboom for that Miraidon matchup. So you still have the Tailwind stuff. Again, Tailwind Water Spout is always something that you have to be, you know, concerned about. And then just, you know, introducing the Rain, you know, with the Urshifu Rapid Strike here, you're just going for big damage is always going to be interesting, right? And again, because you have the Mystic Order here, you can't go Mystic Order here. You need another item, and maybe they want to protect and not have to go banned here. So we go for Life Orb, which is, you know, the next kind of best item there. And then the Sash Chien-Pao also makes sense here. Again, boosting the damage for all of these guys, you know, Rillaboom, Serena, and Urshifu. And, you know, Sacred Sword, that's going to help against sometimes the Dondozo teams, you know, just to ignore their defenses. And then it's also pretty good into stuff like Instant, Terapagos, and all that stuff, right? So Sacred Sword also there, and then Sucker Punch priority against the Calyrex matchup. But again, you just look at this squad, you want to go fast, you want to hit hard, you know, with your speed, and then you still have Serena ready on switch in or ready with Elite to stop the fake out stuff, and then the anti-priority Thunderclaps and Grassy Glides all together. So pretty cool team from Pengy here. Chase Mateo, I think this is pretty much the same kind of squad. Yes, it is. So, you know, this might be the next new Kyogre team moving forward, because up until this point, it was pretty much this team, right? The Oliver Escalon team, you know, from last year and heading into this, where Kyogre got second. It is the Calm Mind Ogre with the Roaring Moon over here. So, again, just Tailwind support, and again, really good pressure into, you know, the Urshifus, the Rillabooms, the Amoonguses. All right, and then just having knockoff pressure, removing key items, and then pressuring the Calyrexes. Then you have your Fire Water Grass Core, and then just Amoongus gives you that Trick Room matchup, of course, right? So nice job there from Shane. And then we have something like this. So, you know, another way to run it is with Specs and then Tornadus Landorus. Look at this, right? I've seen this trio before. Okay, I don't know if I've necessarily seen Specs, but I was waiting for someone to try Specs. Here we are, we got Specs. Okay, the double genie idea with Kyogre. Okay, so now the Landorus with the Scarf can actually have, you know, 100% accurate stance to your Storms, and then the Specs Ogre just does so much damage, you know, in the rain. Okay, you're just doing so much, and then, you know, you still need something for anti-priority stuff. So you don't want your Kyogre to get faked out, and you don't, or your Landorus, and you don't want to get, you know, Grassy Glided or Thunderclap. So this is where the Indeedee comes into play, right? So I like this, and then you still introduced your Trick Room idea. And then you also give yourself Terrain, which is great into, you know, those Miraidon teams. So I like that. And then you still have Urshifu to deal damage in the rain. And then King Gambit is also another interesting choice here. You know, you don't really see King Gambit in this kind of format, but here we are. All right, with the Safety Goggles Terra Dark, you know, this will help you get around Amoongus. This is really good, you know, into the Shadow Rider, of course. Iron Head also, you know, pretty good into like fairy types in general, but you know, steel types in the rain is not new. Okay, you know, King Gambit will thrive in the rain, but I don't know about King Gambit in the format, but it can do something. Okay, it's not like it's chopped liver, of course, but again, the priority Sucker Punches, which sometimes you can't even do with Indeedee, right? But you still have Kowtow, Cleave, and Iron Head there, so this stuff can still do pretty big damage here. But again, just to help you deal big damage into Amoongus, you can definitely use the King Gambit in that sense. You know, this is also the same thing from Anthony Lonergan, right? Same stuff here. So this Kyogre team is definitely, you know, moving forward on the rise. Maybe they build together, who knows? But yeah, how about Brian? How about Brian over here? Brian's team over here. Brian Yom, right? Shout out to Brian, man. You know, he's been dealing with some health issues. You know, he took a break for a while, and now he came back here and he made day 2. So shout outs to Brian. That was another storyline, you know, from this regional. So Brian, I don't know if you watch this stuff, but hey, if you do, welcome back, man. And it's good that you were able to get a top day 2 result here. And it looks like the Justin team from last year, right? It looks like the Grimmsnarl with the Wo-Chien stuff, but you know, a little bit different, obviously, but you know, still piggybacking off of that idea. Again, the Wo-Chien just, you know, reducing damage altogether. Same thing with the Grimmsnarl. Then you're able to Pollen Puff the Kyogre. So this way you get to go for these hard-hitting water spouts. you get to soak up damage first, then the Pollen Puff will heal you back, and then you can get that water spout going. You're still going with the Lander Scarf idea, and then here's Volcarona on this set. So nice job there from Brian. Okay, there's the Oliver team again. Again, so here we go. Yeah, I think Lorenzo and Brian, they both ran the same squads here. So, nice to see both of them do relatively well. And then how about this one? Oh, this one uses Whimsicott. Usually, it's always like Grimmsnarl or Tornadus, but here we have Whimsicott Kyogre. But you still have Serena over here. This, I'm trying to understand what is the advantage of using Whimsicott on this versus something like Tornadus, because this absolutely looks like you could just put Tornadus here. But you do get Encore and Taunt, right? Interesting to have both Encore and Taunt, okay? But you still get Tailwind, you still get Moonblast here. So, yeah, I guess they didn't want to completely rely on, Bleak Wind Storm accuracy checks, but you have it with Kyogre in the range. So, it is interesting to see here. But I do like Snarl Raging Bolt, that's for sure. I do like that. So, it works, right? You're still able to get some good results here. And then how about this one, right? So, instead of the Roaring Moon, we have the Iron Jugulis with Snarl and Tailwind Hurricane. So Snarl, obviously here with the Iron Jugulis, you're not really weak to Intimidate, just like Roaring Moon, and at the same time you have Snarl Pressure, which is something that Oliver's team did not have, and then you have Hurricane, which again, of course, is 100% accurate in the range. So this is also pretty cool there. This is Talent VGC, right? Another VGC YouTuber, right? Cedric. So shout outs to them. Day 2, good job there. And then we get to stuff like this. Look at this. We got another Day 2 Kyogre team, but look, we got Toxicroak here. This is one of the niche mons that made it into Day 2 here. So I wanted to talk about this. Look at this, Terra Ground Toxicroak. Okay, so you definitely know that this is, for your Miraidon matchup. Dry Skin in the rain, of course, you're gonna get some healing there, but you get Fake Out Pressure. Okay, you get Close Combat, so you can definitely do something into some, Incineroars or Chien-Pals or other Steel types or Terapagos, and then Gunk Shot. Okay, you've got Gunk Shot over here, and we've seen how well this can do against, like, the grass types, and then knock off for that Shadow Rider matchup. So this Toxicroak has a multi-use here, and then we get King Gambit again in the rain. So a couple of King Gambits sneaking their way into Day 2, so that's pretty interesting. And then Volcarona still doing what it does best, which is looking really good into that Zamazenta / Koraidon matchup there. So I do like that. But overall, you get to see the ideas from these Kyogre teams. Some of them have Landers, Tornadus. Some of them just use Serena, Chien-Pao, Urshifu stuff. But it's very clear right now. It's the Oliver Escalent team, and then it's Pengy's team here as like the two big Kyogre teams there. But again, there were some other ideas there, so you can definitely give those a try. But nice to see Kyogre do relatively well right now in Regulation G. Alright, so back to the Ice Rider for a second. So besides what Justin and Shiliang were doing, and don't forget about Nick, we often forget Nick is also a pretty good friend of Justin. But besides what those three were running, what else could you do with the Calyrex Ice Rider? So first of all, look at all the Among Us and look at all the Landorus. Alright, so that trio is here to stay. So if you want to start using and building Calyrex Ice Rider, Amoonguss and Landorus is your go-to. But other than that, what else can you do? So I like this idea from William Brown over here. He's got the Blood Wound Ursaluna, which I like, and then he's also got the Smeargle here. So this is the Spore Fake Out, Follow Me, Decorate Smeargle. So again, boosting all the damage from all of your partners here with the Ursaluna, of course. Again, you just have this Hyper Voice, Glacial Lance Pressure here. Ogerpon, Heart Flame is also really good here at redirection. Same thing with the Indeedee. So look at this. You got 1, 2, 3 redirectors here, and then you got all your breakers here. So I really like this kind of team from William. Again, this Smeargle is just so punishing if you're able to get off like key spores there. But of course, after that, what else are you looking at here? So this is another balance idea that doesn't even use Amoonguss or the Landers. But you've got Rillaboom, you've got Urshifu, and you've got Raging Bolt here. And then look at this, and a Chi-Yu of all things here. Chi-Yu is your only special attacker, which is quite interesting. So you've got a Fire, Water, Grass Court going here, but then you've got Cornerstone and Raging Bolt here. Again, the Bolt Beam combination is always going to be good when you have those two together. But interesting choice to have the Chi-Yu, but again, also makes sense. That's probably just to cover for your Shadow Rider matchup a little bit. But you do have that Redirector and that Fake Out Pressure to try and set up the Trick Room. And then from there, the Calyrex / Raging Bolt is just able to do a lot of damage there. This one from Samuel is something that we've seen before. But again, this is the single strike Urshifu. You've got the key instant Amoonguss Raging Bolt here. And again, very similar to what we saw from Rio de Janeiro. Okay, we already spoke about Nick. It's the same squad there. Our guy Jonathan, you know, who we've had on the channel before. It's been about a year or so. Again, another old guest like Tanner, who we might want to at some point get back onto the channel as another guest. But again, the Rain variant, which again just helps the Urshifu mode a little bit more. Bolt Beam combo with Raging Bolt, Cali Ice, and then there's the Amoonguss with Clear Smog just for your Dondozo matchup. So shout out to Big Johnny over there for that day 2 result here. Then after this, in terms of what else do we want to look at here? Oh, this one was pretty cool here, right? So you got the Tailwind mode. Look at this, Whimsicott with Calyrex Ice Rider. You know, it might seem weird, but you know, technically you can have it in both modes, because if I do max speed Calyrex, okay, with a Jolly Nature, that's 112. Under Tailwind, this is faster than Shadow Rider. So max speed Calyrex can still work, all things considered. So you can definitely do it like that. The Volcarona, again, is another redirector. This is, again, support Volcarona. We've seen a lot of support Volcarona in Regulation G, and that's the way to use it right now. That Quiver Dance set, that more offensive variant, not really useful as much right now. It's all about this set here with Will-O-Wisp, Rage Powder. Could have Tailwind, but you have Tailwind already. You still get Ferrograph over here, Rapid Strike, Ursh. A lot of support here for the Ice Rider. So I do like this team as well. This one also features the other Ogerpon, the Loaded Dice idea, but again, you still have Landorus and you still have the Pelipper Urshifu mode here. You could also just build the squad with these 4, Pelipper, Urshifu, Landorus, and Cali Ice. You can also just do this and then pick your Ogerpon and just have a 6 slot there. So that's another way that you can do it. This one right here, even though it got an early drop with 6-3 here, I also still like this idea. So again, back to the Indeedee, Torkoal stuff, but again, no Blood Moon here, but you do have Torkoal. So you could also do Eruption, Glacial Land, Eruption, Glacial Land stuff. So that also works here. Again, Decorate, still very, very punishing. So all things considered, I think that also works out relatively well, you know, with this type of idea. So you can also do the Torkoal variants. But again, there's only one kind of Torkoal variant, you know, out of all the successful day 2 Cali Ice teams, because again, it's a little bit linear. So, you know, you have to accept that. But these ideas, you know, with Amoonguss and Landorus, with a bunch of support Ogerpons that can also deal damage, seems to be the way to go right now, and for good reason. All right, now we're looking at Zamazenta here. So, you know, from Diego's point of view, he's still using the Tomoyuki 6, as we've been calling it, that Victory Road winning team, which centers around Fluttermane and Chi-Yu, okay, along with Chenpao boosting Zamazenta. So this team is still strong even right now, so that's good. Again, 10-3 result, very good. And you know, we see a few of them here, right? Even this one down here at 7-4. So it still works, which is nice to see. But then we have the Pelipper idea with Urshifu, and I still think this variant is also good, because again, double wide guard sometimes is pretty useful, but this mode also enables the Urshifu, which is really nice. And you still get weather control on your side, and with the rise of Koraidon, I think Pelipper teams are looking pretty good. And, you know, same thing with Groudon. Groudon teams are also on the rise. So I think having Pelipper does make sense, you know, with something like Zamazenta. It's going to need the help there. And then just Chenpao Urshifu. Again, you know what these guys can do. Just a lot of physical damage pressure. Raging Bolt here, you know, with Volt Switch also just helps you with positioning. And then the Amoonguss with that Trick Room matchup. And then the Spore Pressure. You could lead this with Urshifu. Protect it, you know, just keep clicking Surging Strikes. You could do Amoonguss Chenpao here, same thing. Amoonguss Pelipper, or even Amoonguss Zamazenta. Like, Amoonguss is splashable with any of these offensive threats. So I do like that point of view there. And then over here, well, we'll look at Aaron's team in a second. Look at this one. You got a Snorlax here in day 2. 7-4 Snorlax team. Look at this. All right, we've got Pelipper, which makes sense. Oh, and then we have Landorus here. Okay, so, you know, I see the synergy there. You've got Rillaboom for your Miraidon matchup, your Chi-Yu for your Shadow Rider, and also sometimes the Ice Rider matchup too, because you have Will-O-Wisp, technically. And then look at this Snorlax. Yawn and Fissure. This is almost like the solo Dondozo idea, right? Where you're just clicking Yawn and then forcing things out, and then the occasional Fissure you know, when you have nothing else to click and you're stuck in a bad situation, you just need a get out of jail free button. Here it is, Fissure, then Body Slam Snorlax. So this is quite interesting. This is definitely for your Trick Room matchup for sure, right? You know, just yawning out the Calyrex Ice Rider, thick fat. There you go, 100%, right? So this is pretty cool. I kind of want to use this team too, you know, just for channel perspective, you know, just featuring Snorlax. I think that would be pretty cool as well. So yeah, I do like that concept. And then Aaron Brock's team over here, we've seen this before with the Latios stuff, but a little bit different. You know, here we've got Fluttermane, Amoonguss, Chenpao. Still we got, oh, now we've got AV Entei. So it's not even like banned Entei, it's AV with Crunch. Okay, Terra Dark Crunch. Look at that. Definitely for your Shadow Rider matchup. And then you still have E-Speed to pick up some KOs. You got Sacred Fire. Entei, Zamazenta, always a good partner here, especially with Chenpao over here. And then look at this Fluttermane Scent with Taunt and Icy Wind. So you got Tailwind, you got Icy Wind here. But Latios looks pretty good here, especially with Luster Purge. Is pretty good against Urshifu. You just have to make sure you outspeed it. The Dark one is the one you have to watch out for, but this is why you have something like Fluttermane and also technically the Amoonguss, right? And then Body Press Zamazenta can also take care of that as well. So nice ideas there from Aaron. But all in all, you know, a lot of these cores are similar. But how about this one right here? So this one also uses the Ditto. So you still have the Chiyu Fluttermane idea with Zamazenta, but look at this. Now we also add the Chiyu here, so that also can help you in that Trick Room matchup. We talked about this squad too, so nice to see that also do relatively well here. But you know, the Zamazenta squads, they haven't really changed. Whatever was doing well is still doing well even right now. All right, so with Koraidon, again, another restricted that is also getting a rise in usage here. So we've already spoke about, you know, the 4th and 5th place team there. So 2 Koraidon teams in top cut. But then there were some other ideas that people were trying with Koraidon. So look at this one from Michael Zhang. I think this is one of the cooler teams of the tournament. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 Photosynthesis Mons here with Koraidon here. You know what you're getting with Fluttermane over here, obviously. Gouging Fire, again, borrowing that idea. You know, just again getting a nice boost here. But look, you got the Choice Band idea here, so this is pretty cool. You're getting big damage here, and then look at this Outrage Gouging Fire. My goodness, you know, that's gonna hurt a lot. And then, you know, even the just Choice Band Breaking Swipe is also pretty good. Hate Crash. This is a really cool Koraidon team. I think a lot of people are gonna try this. But what was the other interesting choices? It was here the Brute Bonnet and the Walking Weight here. So again, Brute Bonnet. You know, you get Spore Pressure. You could go for these faster spores, technically. You've got Rage Powder for redirection support. Seed Bomb also pretty good into, you know, something like Urshifu. And then you're a Dark type too, so you can also have that resistance to the Shadow Rider matchup. You don't have a Dark move, but still, the resistance is all you need sometimes. Then how about this? The Walking Wake with the Life Orb. So again, you're getting Draco Meteor, that big nuke. Then you have Hydro Steam and Weather Ball here. So the Weather Ball not only can function in the sun, it can also function in the rain too. So if they want to flip the weather, you know, in terms of rain, then now the Walking Wake can also function in that sense as well. You got 3 dragons on this team, which is kind of funny. But you know, you don't see Walking Wake used as much. People much prefer the Raging Bolt, obviously. So this is a nice niche for Walking Wake here, of course, in the sun here. Hydro Steam, again, has that chance to burn. Weather Ball in the sun is like another good solid fire type move, and then 1 big nuke here. So, you know, forgoing the electric stuff from Raging Bolt here and going a little bit more offensive here with the Walking Wake is good. And then you have Indeedee here, you know, another redirector. You get another terrain setter. So this way, you know, look at this. You've got Bandit Gouging Fire here. So in terms of not getting faked out and whatnot, you can bring in the Indeedee. You can also change terrain against Miraidon, of course, like we've seen. But this is another cool way to try and use Koraidon. So I respect Michael, you know, for, again, more creativity coming in. He is always very creative. But other than that, you know, you got the Ditto stuff here, you know, with the Raging Bolt, Fluttermane, Ogerpon, Cornerstone, Chiyu. This we already know will always work, and that's exactly what Luca was doing. But then the other niche is down here. And, you know, I know they got 5D, but look at this. This is an idea that we saw in December, and this is the Iron Defense Body Press from the Glastrier, right? So again, this gives you that, you know, that Ice Rider matchup, because again, you can go for these Iron Defense Body Presses and then just sit in front of those Glacial Lances, and then you can just click body presses, and you will win that matchup because you get all this recovery from leftovers and protect. You're faster in Trick Room than the Ice Rider, so this is another good niche for the Glacier. Then you have Walking Wake yet again. This time this is a Specs Walking Wake with Sleep Talk. And then the Ting Lu, again, just making sure that you're taking less special attack damage. The ground dark typing is niche as well. Again, a decent matchup into Miraidon and also technically into the Shadow Rider. You have dark moves, you have ground moves, so you're going to be able to, put pressure onto those slots. Heavy Slam is also for that Terra Fairy ideas, just in case of the Calyrex or the Miraidon wanting to go for Terra Fairy to try and resist these fighting type attacks. So you've got that going for you, and then of course the double redirection stuff. So that was another interesting way to run the Koraidon squad. Then you have this one with Venusaur. So again, Chiyu, Raging Bolt, we know what that but again, no Flutter Mane over here, but you still have Indeedee here for the redirection. And then you've got Venusaur, so now you've got a sleep component with Koraidon here. You go for these sleep powders, go for these grass knots and sludge bombs here. So again, Venusaur having that one niche that you could do, on either a Groudon team or a Koraidon team. And yet again, we do see Iron Crown with the Terra Ground idea. So this is probably for that Miraidon matchup where you can go along with Indeedee, go for that expanding force, big damage, and then Terra Blast, Terra Ground, the Miraidon's out. So this is another mode that you can technically do. We've seen this before, Indeedee, Iron Crown, in the older formats, right? This is something that they've been able to do. So I do like this from Zach. Nice creative way to try and add another engine to that Koraidon type of team. But then you have this one right here, the hyper offensive way, 5-3. There's always there has been someone like saying like, oh, let's run Tornadus and get more offense with Koraidon. You really don't need the Tailwind stuff, but you can do it, right? I understand the Tailwind Sunny Day manual change, and just in case they want to change weather onto you with the rain, but it's not necessary, right? And again, you look at all these successful squads, they don't need the Tailwind, right? But here we have this one, but again, it still works. So you could technically still do like Tornadus Chiyu stuff if you want to do it like that. You could do Tornadus Koraidon if you want to, opt for that, or even Tornado Indeedee and just go for expanding force, big damage. And here's another gouging fire, right? So now people are definitely trying, different ways of utilizing gouging fire with this Koraidon idea. So this is Axe Kick, by the way. That's you don't really see that moveset on the Hisuian Lilligant, but again, the other sleep component that you can definitely do. So I do respect the creativity that people are doing now with the Koraidon. Like all these 5-3 teams, like you can see them also over here. Again, the Band Entei, the Umbreons, you know what they're supposed to do. The Dittos, the Brute Bonnets, the Fluttermanes. The partners are clearly identified. It's just which partners do you want, because you can't have all of them. All right, now in terms of the Calyrex Shadow Rider team, so remember in our previous video when we looked at the best teams in Regulation G right now, we talked about two particular Calyrex Shadow Rider teams, the ones with, the Wheezing Dondozo stuff, and then the other ones with like just the straight balance stuff, right? And do we see that here? Yes, we do. Besides Dawei's team over here, let's look at this one from Connor. All right, this is the Dondozo Wheezing stuff. So as expected, it did do well here. Astro Barrage, Psychic Hyper Beam, Terra Normal Hyper Beam, by the way, it does a lot of damage. But again, it's all about the stall component with the Wheezing, chipping things down, letting Dondozo / Calyrex pick up here, and then Tailwind Roaring Moon just also looks really good here. Iron Hands for fake out pressure and a little bit more damage, for Terapagos and into that Trick Room matchup. So we've seen this before. And then this one is the balance stuff with Clefairy, right? So you want to just use your double fake outs, use your redirection, and then set up these Calm Mind Draining Kiss stuff. So we've seen this before. We've even built this before in our Shadow Rider team building video. So we did say Roaring Moon was also a pretty good partner with the Shadow Rider, and it looks like that is the case over here. So shout outs to Kavan over here. So yeah, utilizing that concept. But then look at this one. This one also still utilizes the Dondozo stuff with Wheezing, but now we're adding Sneasler with the Indeedee. So again, we've seen what this can do, with expanding force with the Psychic Terrain, but now we're adding Sneasler here with the Psychic Seeds. Why? Because Unburden is busted in this type of format. So look at this Gunk Shot. Again, you have to use the Gunk Shot a little bit more now besides the Dire Claw, just because of Miraidon Terrain. Then you've got Close Combat for your Turtle smashing needs, your Terapagos smashing needs. no protect here. It's just, oh wait, there is Dire Claw. Holy smokes. Okay, so we got Dire Claw to be able to click, you know, in your non-Miraidon matchup, and then you got Taunt over here. So fast taunts here, very interesting there. So you can also utilize that, stop protects, and then Calyrex just kind of sweeps. So nice idea to try and use Sneasler here besides the Miraidon Electric Seed stuff. So nice little innovation there. Then you got Yadam Cohen over here. Looks relatively balanced still with the, you know, Incineroar, Amoonguss, Flutter, or stuff. And then Chiyu here just gives you a little bit more damage, you know, with the Beads of Ruin effect. So that works too. And then after that, it's just also just more balance, more wheezing stuff here. This one from Noah Swift, even though it went 5-3, this one utilizes the Iron Valiant here. Look at this set though. Icy Wind, Wide Guard, Spirit Break, Close Combat. So it looks like a pretty standard Iron Valiant set, but the fact that we're adding this, you know, with these 5. Okay, again, we just saw Sneasler in this slot. Now we're adding the Iron Valiant. So, you know, to each their own in terms of this last slot here. I've even seen Urshifu, right? So, you know, I guess that's the interchangeable slot that we've seen from this 5 in terms of the Dondozo wheezing stuff. So play around with this slot and then, you know, to, you know, satisfy whatever needs that you have with the Shadow Rider. But that's pretty much what we're looking at right now, is just this balance stuff and then the wheezing Dondozo idea. But again, this is a little bit more innovation from Dawei, so be on the lookout for the solo Dondozo stuff with the Tinglu. So Groudon, just like Koraidon, is getting a little bit of an uptake in usage in Regulation G this time around, and for good reason. For, you know, again, with Groudon being a ground type, positive matchup into Miraidon. That's also one reason why Miraidon kind of dipped a little bit. There's a little bit more Groudon now, but you know, some similar partners. But it's all about the Jumpluff stuff right now. But there's some other ways that you can build around it. So besides Carson, which, you know, basically Chupa was running the same idea. Look at this one right here from Zhangzhe. Right, with this is almost the quote-unquote Chinese Sun team that's been going around, but the adaptation here is the Iron Valiant with coaching instead, right? So you've got coaching here along with Howl here, so you can coach this, you can coach everything here, right, more or less, besides obviously your special attackers. But technically you can also do that too to give them a defensive boost over here. But Chien-Pao just makes Groudon do more damage, same thing with Gouging Fire and Iron Valiant. You know what Howl does in terms of boosting up damage for both partners here. Breaking Swipe, a little bit of damage mitigation here. You know, Flare Blitz hits really hard in the sun. You got Photosynthesis here, which again, you can outspeed a lot of things now, you know, once you get that speed boost here. But you can also EV this to, you know, give you Adamant, right? You know, in terms of the attack stats. So you can go for the attack boost instead and make this a little bit slower and a little bit bulkier. The Groudon with the AV is very hard to break now because you've got the Assault Vest with the special defense boost. Now you add coaching to this. Okay, now it's harder to break because now that's a defense boost. Then you add breaking swipe here, same thing. So the Groudon actually becomes very, very hard to break. And then the Volcarona, again with the Will-O-Wisp, same thing, a little bit more damage mitigation. You still have redirection support here. This is pretty good for your Zamazenta matchup / Koraidon. So that's also another use for Volcarona in terms of this set. And then, you know, just redirecting Urshifu stuff, you know, the Flame Body chance for the burn is also important there. Terra Water will help you do that as well. So look at that. And then the Rocky Helmet chip damage, you know, at the same time is very punishing for them if they want to go for that. So I do like this idea from Zhangzhe, and I think more people will be trying it moving forward. And then after this, you know, here's another little adaptation here with the Clear Amulet Jumpluff Groudon team here. You got you still have AV Raging Bolt and Flutter Mane with the Icy Wind, but look at the Cornerstone also being a key piece here. And again, this is still like, okay, you can definitely do this, but you'll always see stuff like Raging Bolt and Flutter Mane on these Groudon teams because, it, you know, again, Photosynthesis partners. The Chiyu also makes sense here, you know, boosted damage in the sun with your Heat Waves or Overheats. You get your Shadow Rider / Ice Rider matchup a little bit. And then the Cornerstone also very good into that Ice Rider matchup as well. And then the Jumpluff just sleeping things, encoring things. You know what this thing is supposed to do. Very punishing support option. And then down here, when I saw this with Groudon and Bronzong, I immediately thought like Gravity right here. Gravity Hypnosis stuff. So even though this did do 5-3, that's exactly what it was. It was actually Gravity Hypnosis. And this is something that was done a little bit towards like the beginning of Regulation G when people were trying out Groudon, the Gravity stuff. So making sure you hit your Precipice Blades. Okay, same thing with your Hypnosis. You can definitely do that as well. This Mienshao has coaching, which is actually pretty cool because now again you can coach this Groudon here, and you can also technically coach the Roaring Moon here. So if this does get intimidated, you can just coach it and, you know, bring it back to fruition here. You've got Terra Poison here. That'll resist the Fairy fighting weakness, of course. But you got Tailwind, Knockoff, and Breaking Swipe here with your Roaring Moon here. So more damage mitigation there. And then Rillaboom, of course, pretty good, you know, for that Miraidon matchup there. Then you have just Armarouge here. I feel like this is the odd guy out here. I don't know why this guy's supposed to be here, but he's here. I guess they needed a Clear Smog user, but, you know, technically Torkoal could do that too. And then you get another Trick Room Sweeper. So I'm very curious to why the Armarouge is in this, because you've already got one Trick Room user. I think Torkoal could do wonders with something like this, you know, over the Armarouge. But again, Flash Fire is broken, so maybe they have some ideas in terms of soaking up fire damage, because you've got 1, 2 technically that are weak to fire. But again, is that really a big deal there? But I'm wondering what the Armarouge is supposed to do, you know, versus something like a Torkoal, right? But I do respect it. I just thought, you know, Gravity, you know, Bronzong Hypnosis could be something that people may try moving forward. Then I saw this one right here with Fortress at 5-3. Look at this. This is just Body Press, Iron Defense, Gyro Ball. I think Bronzong can do this too, right? But again, you do get Overcoat here, so that's another thing that you can also consider. But I do respect the Fortress idea. Still AV Groudon here. Look at this Murkrow here. Foul Play, Haze, Sunny Day, Tailwind. That's a pretty standard Murkrow set here, where if they want to change weather on Groudon, you can just manually change it back with Sunny Day. And then you could even do Murkrow Heart Flame leads, you know, Tailwind or Sunny Day, Heart Flame, you know, harder hitting Ivy Cudgels in the sun. Glomora, same thing. You know, we've seen Glomora Murkrow leads before, do a lot of chip damage, you know, with Toxic Bree, you know, if they want to hit the Glomora here. Otherwise, you're going to go for like these Meteor Beam stuff and Sludge Bomb. So interesting to see Glomora this time around here, but, you know, I get it. But as you scroll down here, it's just all the Jumpluff stuff. Along with the, you know, the Roaring Moon variant here, but again, pretty interesting in itself, and I do like it. But we'll see if there's more Groudon builds that can move past these two types of teams. Terapagos had a couple of day 2 teams here, and really what it comes down to is, do you want the balanced stuff or do you want the Tailwind hyper offensive stuff? So they still need to cover their Zamazenta matchup a little bit, but we do have this one right here at 13th place here. Again, Instant Amoonguss defensive backbone, the substitute Calm Mind stuff, the Raging Bolt here, very, very standard Terapagos team, you know, from Arath. Then you look at this one from Gary. This one has a Tailwind idea with Sunny Day, and this is Power Herb Terapagos. You don't see this one all that often, but what we're saying here is we're going for Meteor Beam, we're going for Rock Polish, we're going to get fast, okay? And then, you know, Terra Starstorm when the time comes. And then the Iron Treads here, again, pretty good synergy with Tornadus also. You know, Tailwind Earthquake, of course. It's pretty good for Miraidon matchup here. But again, you don't have the one that blows up terrain, but you still have Earthquake for Miraidon. So that, and also high horsepower too. Single target ideas along with Iron Head. So I like this. And then you still have Ditto here. Again, being able to copy another restricted. You got the annoying Smeargle here with Decorate too. So you can decorate your Terapagos for a little bit more damage, and then you have Spore Pressure too, right? So, you know, Smeargle is just a devil, right? Look how many teams have used Smeargle throughout this run. Then over here, then you have a couple of Screamtail teams, which is again really good against Zamazenta, because again, the Encore Disable idea, where you're just, you know, making sure that they don't do their body press stuff, so you can always do that. The Heatran with Zoom Lens is crazy, okay? I never thought we would see Heatran in this format, but there have been a couple teams with Heatran, but the Zoom Lens idea with this set is quite interesting. Will-O-Wisp, Magma Storm, of course, again, the chance to miss, and then the Terra Bug idea. Again, this is pretty good, you know, for that Zamazenta matchup, especially with the Terra Bug idea. So you just kind of wall the Terapagos, I'm sorry, the Zamazenta and the Koraidon, because you can't click a fire move and you can't click your fighting move, thanks to Flash Fire. So I think this is the way to go about it. But Will-O-Wisp and Magma Storm also is kind of crazy, all things considered. You still have the standard Calm Mind substitute set over here. So that's another idea that you can definitely do. This one uses Clefairy, right, along with Iron Hands over here. This is still Power Herb. Meteor Beam and Calm Mind. So that's another set that we can also use. Again, we did see that Power Herb strat earlier, but this one also has Calm Mind. So a little bit of variance here. And then this one from Louis Milik, right? This is the Specs Pago. So we've seen a lot of different Pago sets so far here. And again, this does go back to the Tailwind idea, you know, with Whimsicott here. You got your Landorus for your Miraidon matchup. And then Fergaf is also pretty good into Shadow Rider, technically speaking. Hard Flame Ogerpon also pretty good for Rillaboom stuff. But again, another redirector, another good hard hitter with the Urshifu Rapid Strike, giving you that Fire Water Grass core. But if you want to go like Tailwind Specs, that's also an option here. But again, you know, it's just all about how do you want to play your Pagos. Do you want the balanced stuff? Do you want to go a little bit more offense with Tailwind? Do you want to use a Scream Tail? Do you want other support options? The Pagos builds are a little bit limited in what they're trying to do, but again, they do work. And you know, Calm Mind Substitute is the way to go so far. But it's nice to see that we do have some other ideas with this Meteor Beam idea, you know, with the Power Herb and as well as the Specs. All right, so now for this part of the video, I always like to leave just to always spotlight some other non-conventional things or some other niche Pokemon that were able to make it and do also relatively well. So right over here at 34th place, right, Everett Filun, the Zacian Regidrago stuff. So Zacian was pretty quiet in this regional overall, but you did have this one lone Zacian Regidrago team. Of course, the Regidrago variant has been the most successful one thus far. And then again, the Tailwind Whimsicott or Tornadus. Chi-Yu over here also looking really good. And then the Ditto here just gives you another restricted that you could copy to go along with the Zacian stuff. So again, Tailwind, Dragon Energy, a lot of pressure. If things want to go Terra Fairy to with this, then they're just weak to the Behemoth Blade in that sense. So you got this pin there with the Drago and the Zacian, and then the Chi-Yu just lets the Regidrago do a little bit more damage. You get your Shadow Rider matchup a little bit. Technically Ice Rider too, you know, with the Chi-Yu and the Ditto stuff, so you can always look at that. The Amoonguss does help you with the Trick Room stuff. So shout outs to Everett for doing relatively well there. But also, speaking of like Trick Room stuff, yo, there were a couple of Lunala teams here in day 2, right? So let's look at Brandon Davis's team over here. He's always doing like Trick Room stuff with Torkoal, so no surprise here. Look at this. You've got Lunala, Ursaluna, Torkoal, right? The double Luna idea, much like what we have here at the bottom 6 of our screen, right? But we opted for like Indeedee Hyper Offense. This is just Indeedee Trick Room stuff with Torkoal, Ursaluna. And then you have Ogerpon Wellspring, and then you have the Urshifu with, actually, this is the Dark variant, but with the Choice Scarf idea. So you still have a quote-unquote fast mode that you can do here, but it is a Scarf variant. So I have not seen Scarf Dark Urshifu. It's always been like the water one, but here we go, Brandon going with the Scarf variant. Then look at this one. Holy smokes. Vardhan. Look at this team, man. You know, if I told you this team made day 2, you'd think I was crazy, but look at this. There were a few Rhydon teams, I'm not gonna lie, and it all goes down, comes down to Lightning Rod and having access to ground moves. This is really good for Miraidon. And then, you know, Rock Slide pressure against stuff like Incineroar is kind of annoying for the opponent to try and deal with. Rhydon being relatively bulky. Swords Dance Rhydon is crazy. But you've got the Cornerstone here, so you got 2 rock types here. Then Galarian Zapdos, same thing. I guess they really hate Incin, right? So, but again, Galarian Zapdos, look at this set. Okay, it does get access to Tailwind, right? So now you've got a fast mode to the team. Then you've got Brave Bird, which again puts pressure on all the Ogerpons, right? And then you have Close Combat, which is also pretty good into Terapagos. I remember someone in my comment section was telling me about Galarian Zapdos, and you know, I looked at it, I was like, yeah, this is true. Zapdos can do this. But are we working harder than we need to? We might be, but you know, this is there's some options here. I didn't even get to the Lapras yet. So look at this, Water Absorb Lapras. You already know that's for Urshifu Rapid Strike, right? Then you've got Freeze Dry and Haze. That's punishing into Dondozo. And then Hydro Pump Lapras. I guess you got to have another single target water move here. But this is a team. Scarf Chi-Yu also still also makes sense with Lunala, but you know, Moongeist being Moonblast, Wide Guard, Trick Room. So Terra Fairy here with the Moonblast also makes sense. But what a squad here. You got all these niche picks here, but they have a defined role. Like, you know, this is for Ursh, you know, this is for like other Ogerpons and for fast mode on your team, pinning the other Incineroars and the other dark types that might be running around. Also just destroys Urshifu too. And then the Rhydon, of course, for that very special niche Miraidon matchup, can also technically do well into Raging Bolt if you want to bring it there. But yeah, so this is a pretty cool team. I wonder if they'll make this public. I would love to bring them onto the channel and feature it with them. But then we got Brian Collins over here. Okay, similar idea again with the Tailwind stuff with Indeedee Ursaluna, which is kind of what we got, right? You know, with just if you can look at the bottom of our screen, we have a similar idea. The only difference is Okidogi versus Incineroar. I feel like the Okidogi might be a little bit better technically, but we'll have to wait and see. But again, the double Luna idea with the Tailwind stuff, it again still makes sense. Okidogi, you know, with the Guard Dog, you can't intimidate it. Gunk Shot, good pressure into the Ogre Ponds, knockoff for Calyrex, Low Kick and Drain Punch. Again, very versatile set that the AV Okidogi can do for you. So I do like this team. But you know, shout out to all the Lunala teams that are just trying to make it work over here. Even this one right here. Let's look at this one. 5-3 here with the P2 for Rigorath. Heatran again. So look at this. Tailwind, what? Tailwind Lunala? Yo, I didn't even know this thing got Tailwind. Wait. Lunala gets Tailwind? Hold on. I didn't even look at that. Yo, it gets oh man, I'll have to look at that later on, but the fact that Lunala got Tailwind is kind of crazy. And then you've got Power Herb set over here with Meteor Beam, so no Protect here, but no Trick Room. So that's the idea, no Trick Room. This is like Fast Mode Lunala, because the Trick Room is coming from these guys, okay, the P2 and Farigiraf. That'll help you definitely into the Shadow Rider matchup. And then this is just for everything else, right, with the Heatran, you know, with Grass Terra. A little bit of a niche idea there with the Ogerpon Wellspring. You're still getting your Fire Water Grass core there, but yeah, man, that is a Lunala team for sure. So I respect it. And here's another one, another offensive set here. This also looks like what we have at the bottom of our screen. Again, we have Incineroar there. They have another Ogerpon there. But again, similar ideas that can still work and do well if you want to explore that route. But yeah, yo, Lunala definitely something to again, still working harder than we need to, but the fact that you did have a couple of day twos is still like kind of cool in reality. I still think the Lunalas are going to be much better in dual restricted, but you know, in a single restricted, you know, they can work. The problem with the Lunala, of course, is do you want it to be the supporting set with Trick Room, or do you want it to put out some damage and put out some offense? And it's hard for Lunala to do both sometimes, but it can do it. But otherwise, the Calyrex Ice Rider can just do that role and just much more better than it. But as we go down here, there's some other niche picks here that I also want to spotlight here. We're coming up on right here. Again, another Eternatus team. We had some Eternatus teams, you know, within this format, so it's nice to see it. There's the Rhydon again with the Violet set here with Terra Fairy. There's Glacier here with Icicle Crash, high horsepower. We got Galarian Moltres here, you know, with the Air Slash, Foul Play, Fiery Rat set. This is another very interesting niche team, but very defensive, you know, with Amoonguss and Grimmsnarl here. I don't know if there's much damage. Well, there is some damage, obviously, but this is a support kind of team with the Eternatus Cosmic Power set. So if you want to play that way, go ahead. But now we go to Zach Emerson's team here, and I think this is like my favorite team of the tournament. I'm not gonna lie. 7-4 here. Necrozma Duskmane. I have not seen this thing used. I think even back in like the summer of Regulation G, nobody was using this. But here we are, Necrozma Duskmane. Shoutouts to Zach, man. Yo, we definitely got to bring this on to channel. I don't even know if they want to make this public, but my goodness. Wyguard Frostmoth is a thing, okay? That we know. That's another niche pick there. Landorus makes sense here. So does Raging Bolts, of course. But look at this. Sunsteel Strike, Photon Geyser, Trick Room here. Terra Normal is definitely going to help it for the Shadow Rider matchup. And that might be the way to go for it. Now, you do have the Clear Amulet, so now you can't even intimidate it, right? So that Clear Amulet actually saves Necrozma Duskmane, all things considered. So you got a lot of damage here, okay? You've got Landorus for your Miraidon matchup, Single Strike Urshifu for your Shadow Rider matchup. Heart Flame also can do something here, and then Raging Bolt here. getting a little bit more support. But, you know, nice to see Necrozma dust me. So shout outs to Zach for trying to make that thing work. Again, we're working hard, but we're getting results with the things that we're trying to work hard with. So again, really cool there. I wonder if there's a little bit more if we go down further a little bit. We've already covered the Toxicroak stuff, the Wo-Chien we've seen already. Let's dip into the 5-3s here. Oh, this one's really interesting. How about look at this 5-3 here for the Sylveon. This is not the copycat Sylveon, all right? So we've got this in Skeledurge with Unaware. That's pretty good for Dondozo, I guess. Any more down here? We've done Bronzong stuff. There's Kean Campbell with his Zacian team that he's been playing for like a whole year now. But yeah, all right. I think that's gonna do it for now, folks. So yeah, let me know what you thought of San Antonio. Nice to see Ice Rider finally find its footing. Among Us Landers was good, but Roaring Moon was a big difference maker there. So we'll have to see what happens moving forward with some of the other restricteds. But right now, the Ice Rider is very much in the driver's seat at the moment. So yeah, but that's it for now, folks. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out and have a good one.